passenger on Flight 728 kept staring at her from seat 14C. The terrifying part? Nobody else on the plane could see him. The man in seat 14. Flight 728 was already delayed 3 hours when Rachel Miller boarded the plane at Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Everyone looked exhausted, crying babies, angry passengers, flight attendants forcing fake smiles. Rachel just wanted to sleep. She found her seat near the back of the plane, 14B, but when she sat down, she noticed something strange. The man beside her in seat 14C was already staring at her. Not casually, not normally, just staring. He looked about 50 years old, pale skin, black suit, no luggage, and he never blinked. Rachel gave an awkward smile before putting on her headphones, but even after several minutes, she could still feel him watching her. Finally, she turned toward him. "Can I help you?" The man smiled slightly. "You shouldn't be on this flight." Rachel laughed nervously. "Okay." Then she noticed something cold about his voice. No emotion, no humor, just certainty. The plane finally took off at 11:47 p.m. Rain hammered against the windows while turbulence shook the cabin. Most passengers quickly fell asleep, but Rachel couldn't relax. Every time she looked beside her, the man in 14C was still staring directly at her, not moving, not blinking. At one point, the flight attendant walked by with drinks. "Would you like anything, sir?" The man didn't answer. The attendant frowned. "Sir?" Rachel looked confused. "He's right here." The flight attendant stared at the empty seat beside Rachel, then smiled awkwardly. "Ma'am, nobody is sitting there." Rachel's stomach dropped. Slowly, she turned back towards seat 14C. The man was still there, smiling wider now. 2 hours later, most cabin lights were off. Outside the windows, endless darkness stretched across the sky. Rachel tried distracting herself with a movie, but then she heard whispering beside her. "You still have time." She pulled off her headphones. "What?" The man leaned closer. His breath smelled rotten. "When the lights go out, don't look at the aisle." Rachel immediately stood up. "Okay, this isn't funny." Several nearby passengers looked at her strangely. An older woman across the aisle frowned. "Are you all right?" Rachel pointed at seat 14C. "This guy keeps talking to me." The woman looked confused. "Honey, that seat's been empty the whole flight." Rachel felt her chest tighten. "No, it hasn't." But now, seat 14C was empty, completely empty. No man, no bag, nothing. Rachel backed away slowly. Her breathing became shaky. The older woman stood carefully. "You should sit down." Rachel looked around the cabin desperately. Passengers slept quietly beneath dim lights. Everything looked normal, until she noticed something terrifying. Every window shade on the plane was open, and every passenger who was awake was staring toward the aisle, not moving, not blinking, just staring. Then the lights went out. Complete darkness swallowed the cabin. People gasped nervously. A child began crying somewhere near the front. Rachel remembered the man's warning instantly. "Don't look at the aisle." The emergency lights flickered weakly red. Rachel kept her eyes shut tightly. Then she heard footsteps, slow footsteps moving through the cabin, one row at a time. Passengers began whispering softly, then crying, then screaming. Rachel covered her ears. Something moved beside her seat, wet breathing, close, very close. A woman suddenly screamed from somewhere behind the plane. "Oh God, what is that?" The screams became louder instantly. People cried hysterically. Seats shook violently. Rachel accidentally opened her eyes and looked toward the aisle. Something tall stood near row 16, too tall for the cabin. Its head bent unnaturally against the ceiling. Its skin looked grey and stretched tightly across a thin body. And its face had no eyes, only a massive smile filled with human teeth. The creature slowly turned toward Rachel. Then every passenger screaming suddenly stopped at once. Silence filled the cabin. The thing smiled wider. You looked. The lights instantly came back on. Everything looked normal again. Passengers sat quietly in their seats. No screams, no creature, nothing. Rachel's heartbeat pounded violently. A businessman beside the aisle glanced at her. You okay? Rachel looked around wildly. Didn't you see it? The man frowned. See what? Then Rachel noticed something horrifying. 3 seats near the back were empty now. Completely empty. Blankets folded neatly. Seatbelts untouched. As if nobody had ever sat there. But Rachel remembered clearly. A family had been sitting there earlier. A mother. A father. A little girl. Gone. Rachel rushed toward the front of the plane. The flight attendants tried stopping her.